A very, very good evening. A warm welcome to Two Full Tossers, presented by myself, Dan Nicholl, and Alan Committie, and welcome back. And we have to apologise. We have to reach out a hand, bring you in for a COVID-friendly, socially distanced hug, and just to bring you into our collective bosom, because the emails, Alan Committie, the faxes, the telegrams, the small notes being dropped off by suspiciously emaciated-looking pigeons, all crying out. For the last week, there has not been a sign of Two Full Tossers. And while we could blame ESCOM, in fact, we will. And in fact, it was entirely their fault. But there's been a gap in the cricketing universe. And I'm very glad to say, Alan Committie, that together, you and I have returned this week to fill it.
And you say return, but I've been sitting here now for a fortnight. I haven't moved. I've sat here quietly waiting. And I can't tell you the delight and pleasure and joy it is to see your little round face. I think we can say round. And having said that, I haven't gone to sleep because, like you, I was up until 4:27 watching Louis almost win, and then just stuff it up just at the last minute, but in a loving way, because he is brilliant and we think he was marvelous, but also not. And here we are, Two Full Tossers, episode 20 or 21 or 23. No one keeps count anymore, but what a delight to be back.
Is it time that we sit Louis Oosthuizen down and we say, Louis, you've got a beautiful swing. You're a wonderful golfer. You have an exceptionally calm and relaxed demeanor when taking on the most demanding of tournaments on the toughest of courses. But you really need to stop watching South African Cricket World Cup highlights reels as inspiration playing in major tournaments.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the only thing that kept me going in the second half of last night was the thought, the dream, the ideal that at some point in a mad kind of mix-up through footpaths, Brooks Koepka would meet Bryson at the tee box on the 16th, and they'd smash each other to death with a wedge, one wedge between them. Very accurate they are. That would have been fun to watch. But even that didn't happen. Anyway, we turn our attention now to cricket.
We do indeed. I think Brooks Koepka's highlight of the whole week was watching Bryson make 8 on the 9. We have celebrations to do because we have won a test series, Alan Committie. We won it. We won all of it.
We didn't win it. We thrashed them. We won it in 11 days. Oh, tremendous. And Keshav Maharaj, what a delight, what a hero, what a legend, what a man. Tremendous.
I shall be naming my gender-fluid children of the future after Keshav Maharaj, Nicholl, with great intent. Look, it's a great game. I want to talk to you more about it in just a second, but I know that people have logged on in their dozens with some slightly optimistic rounding up to find out 2 things. One, who our special guest is tonight, and G, is he a special guest? I am beyond excited. My excitement is excitable, is how excited I am. But we also look to find out who, this week, Alan's lost legend is. Now, we're not going to tell you just yet, but we will give you a pictorial preview. Give us that sneak then. Who is our lost legend this week, Alan Committie?
Right, here's a little picture. If you recognize this gentleman, it's also a nice little hint as to our guest tonight. This gentleman was one of my heroes growing up. He's no Lee Barnard. I think that's obvious. But look at that mighty tash, and look at the way he's holding that piece of paper with those big burly hands. Who is that? Do you recognize this gentleman? Use your grubby little fingers, type something into the chat box and see if you're right, as later on we reveal who our lost legend is. He's no Lee Barnard, but my goodness, he's a giant of the South African game.
All right. Well, I see there's been one answer already. We won't tell you what that answer is, but I see Gary van Lochenberg, the Boerland scrum half sensation of the late 70s, has made a suggestion. So let's see how accurate that is. How did Keshav Maharaj's hat-trick, do you feel, compare to the hat-tricks that you've taken through your illustrious career for a number of second, occasionally third, and then sometimes fourth 11s of assorted eminence?
Right. I'm picking up in your tone of voice that you're being slightly facetious, but I need to remind you, because it does need reminding, that I took 7 for 11 for the third Westerford 11, one Wednesday midweek game. And that included 3 full tosses in which the batsman, my opposition batsman, ducked and balls went over the back of their backs and into, I want to say middle stump, but I think it clipped leg stump. because even my full tosses were slightly wayward. And I think they were on the same level. No, they weren't even close. Keshaf Maharaj, the spin, the web of deceit that he spun this afternoon, quite magnificent. Listen, that first wicket was a little bit lucky, if we're honest. A batsman losing a bit of concentration there, but my goodness, what a delight to watch him achieve. Because I do think he's been one of our heroes in the last tough couple of years. He is one of the players who's kind of stood out and given his best through all of that time. So he's reaping the rewards. Well done him.
All right, lovely to see, and our fast bowlers performing, and still one or two little wobbles with the batting, but your dear friend Quinton de Kock is back.
In the interviews, did you see his interview at the end? He would sometimes forget to put verbs in sentences, but that's also all right. He was just magnificent, on top form, smiling. That's what I like to see, a smiling Quinton de Kock and a very thin Mike Hazeman, but that's a different story for another time.
Who looks slightly like our lost legend from a moment ago. Before we find out who that lost legend is, quick word on the Test Championship in a rain-sodden and soaked corner of England. It's the Indians versus the New Zealanders, and I found myself, I've been struggling to get excited about this game, to be honest.
What a pity. The build-up, if I had to watch that advert one more time, with the two commentators doing the same copy in very bad voiceover narrations to those terrible images, and it was played 614 times on SuperSport leading up to the Test match, and then we've seen 8 minutes of cricket. It's just been a veritable and literal damp squid and dimp squab, actually, if I think about it. And what a sadness, because it could have been something quite memorable, but there you are. What are you going to say? And to be fair, New Zealand probably just edging the 8 minutes of cricket
that we've seen so far. Look, it's an indictment, I feel, an indictment on the Indian team that they don't have a single South African in the team, where I think New Zealand started with 14 in this Test match and will build up as the game unfolds over the next month of rain delays and breaks. But that is a problem for India to deal with as their young cricketing future unfolds. Lost legend, we had a look at the gentleman who looks like he is an accountant at a medium-sized vehicle sales firm. Let's go in and find out who this week is Alan's lost legend.
So there he is. I don't know if you recognize him. He is of Lee Barnard's vintage, but he is no Lee Barnard, but he played for the Mean Machine, my team that I chose to support growing up in the 80s. This man played for many, many games from the late 70s right up to 1990. And of course, he was a magnificent left arm, I want to say spin bowler, but he wasn't. He was just slow and magnificent. He is the brilliant Alan Curry. That's right.
Gary.
Gary. There you are. Let's take a look. There he is with the little signature left arm over. He's looking quite dapper and svelte in that picture. I think that might be a filter, and maybe a little bit of the picture's just been cropped in make him thinner. But this was a man amongst men. In that terribly brilliant Mean Machine of the 80s, Alan Curry was their chosen slow bowler, and wasn't he brilliant? And also a superb slipper, where he would stand, often forgetting to move from side to side. He'd just play slip on one side of they'd just bowl past him as he stood at slip, which was invariably at mid-off or mid-on, and then became slipper in the next over. He is no Lee Barnard, but he is one of my heroes. I love him. A big shout out to Alan Curry.
Oh, there we go. Well done to Gary van Lochenberg. Also suggests that the mighty Dodos would beat the West Indies. Now, this is Gary showing that he has gaps in his sporting knowledge, because the mighty Dodos are a famous hockey team. Gary van Lochenberg is thinking of the Spin Doctors, unless he thinks that the West Indies are so bad that even my hockey team would beat the West Indian cricket team. And knowing my hockey team, I don't think they'd come close against the West Indian hockey team, let alone the cricket team. But thank you for the vote of confidence, Gary van Lochenberg. Right, our guest tonight.
Go on. Is it Kevin Peterson? Is it?
It was going to be Kevin Peterson, because we wanted, and I know you said to me, I want a tall, attacking batsman who
That's
bowls
right.
off spin, who's rakishly good looking.
Yes, I see all those things.
Okay, Kevin Peterson could have just crept in on one or two of those counts, but then I found someone who was taller, who was a
Right.
better batsman, a
Oh.
far better bowler, and way better good looking,
Go on.
and happens to also be from KwaZulu-Natal. And so it's not Kevin Peterson tonight. Instead, to the sound of trumpets and the excited screams of delight from cricket fans around the country, particularly the old age homes of the south coast of KwaZulu-Natal, it gives me great pleasure to say good evening to Patrick Symcox.
Oh, Simo! There he is. That's a legend right there.
With a photo, because that's how they took them in those days, a photo of Pat playing his first class game over his shoulder, which was for Griqualand. I don't think it was even West then. It was just Griqualand playing against Northwestern Rhodesia in the Federation of Nyasaland Championships of a while. Pat Symcox, welcome to the show.
Cheers, Dan. Thank you so much. Greetings, Alan. Nice to see you.
You too, sir.
Oh, it's lovely to see. Now, the social media tells me, Patrick, that you either spend your time careering about game farms and in the bush, or attempting to flog people, probably on the south coast, or having long and rather rambling accounts of the world as we know it on social media. Does that pretty much sum up Pat Symcox today?
It does pretty much, Dan. I do have all the Remax franchises, real estate franchises on the south coast. So I'm involved in the property business. And when I'm not involved in working, I'm myself and my wife spend as much time as we can in the bush nowadays. We love birding, we love photography, we love wildlife, and that's become a real passion of ours. So you're 100% right.
That's where you find yourself today. I'd like to go back a little to the early days of a very colourful cricket career and one of the great characters of the game. And when you started out, it was kind of part cricket, part medical rep, part kind of man about town in downtown Kimberley. And it was at that stage, cricket was kind of just part of who you were and what you were doing. I think early on, you weren't entirely sure whether that was going to be the career of Pat Symcox.
Well, we weren't playing. There wasn't international cricket at all. So you grew up. So I'm a fan. My family is one of 10 families in South African families that have played first class cricket for 3 generations. So I was a product of that. So I'd grown up around a cricket field. My dad played provincial cricket. I played. My son has played. My uncle played. My great uncle played. So we grew up playing cricket. And I was a squash player as well. So I played provincial squash and provincial badminton for years. And I had to make a choice eventually. And it fell to cricket. But we only played provincial cricket in a B section, growing up in a small mining town, far away from the A section. So really just trying to be as good as I could amongst, a small minority in Kimberley. And then, I took my chances and moved up to Pretoria and started playing for Northerns for a couple of years, and then moved back to Kimberley. Then, then I retired from cricket. I was 28. I went into hospital management and worked, for a while, and then got a lucky break. I transferred up to Natal, to Maritzburg, to open a hospital, and Natal needed a player. I played one season, and in the next minute, they picked a team to go to Sri Lanka for South Africa, and I was in it. And I thought it was my last one. I was 32. Dave Richardson was 33. And I was picked at 32 to play, and it lasted 8 years. So I had a wonderful ride, and I was really blessed to have done it, But provincial cricket was the way we went. We played twice a week. We went down to the nets at 4:30 after work and practiced and played Saturday, Sunday league. And I grew up in the amateur era and then saw the professional era come along and was part of that. So I was very lucky to have a very cross-section. You talk about guys like Ellen Curry, who I played against often, never had the chance to play international cricket. There were many of those players in the late 70s that were great players that, played provincial cricket, which was very strong in those days. I'm not saying it's not strong now, but it was very strong in those days. And it was very competitive. And as Alan said, the Mean Machine was one hell of a team. And there was no international cricket. So that was international cricket. So growing up in that time was a real bonus for me. You know, it hardened us, and we loved our game. You know, we just loved playing cricket.
You managed to do all of that. You got to play for your country. You got to represent a number of different provinces. You got to see parts of the world. But you must sometimes sit down, Pat, and just look out onto the horizon and think, I wonder what might have been, what glamour and international fame might have come my way had I stuck with badminton.
That's true.
Yes, 100% right. 100% right. In fact, my mixed doubles partner was #1 in South Africa. So I used to go down and play provincial cricket, and I was on the squash circuit. So you never know what could have happened. They made a lot of money in squash, you know.
To be fair, I would imagine in your many years of brilliant international cricket, you came across a couple of shuttlecocks, particularly amongst the Australians, I would imagine.
No, I didn't actually.
Didn't you? Really? Okay.
No, not in Australia. Yeah, look, it was good times. You know, Dan, as you say, you sit back and you look and you think, well, and I was lucky. I made my debut in first class cricket when I was 17. I was in my matric year, and my first game was against Transvaal in Kimberley. And then I retired at 40. So I had 23 years of playing provincial cricket, and amongst that, a whole lot of international cricket, as you say, traveling around the world, enjoying the game. And what a blessing that was, you know, in the meantime, you know, making so many friends, seeing so many places, traveling to, you know, from Malaysia to Kenya to Hong Kong, you know, playing in all the competitions, and then never mind playing at the SCGs and the great grounds of the Eden Gardens in Pakistan. And so it gave me a hell of a lot of pleasure over the years, you know, and I was blessed to meet so many great people along the way. And I'm really happy that I'm able to sit back today and have a good look at it from a distance. And now that I'm in business, it stands me in really good stead.
There are a number of stories that have emerged out of
Yeah, I'm sure there were.
cricket.
You pick up on all of them, wouldn't you? You'd pick up on all of them.
Tell me, if you will, Mr. Symcox, because I believe there's still an air of mystery to this particular tale, about a tour of India where Jonty Rhodes's jerseys kept going missing.
Well, you know, I'm quite a resourceful bloke, you know, and when you need to get things sorted, which you can't get money-wise, anything in India that's got Jonty Rhodes's name on it is good for barter. So, you know, if you wanted to organize a case of beers which aren't legal somewhere, or you can't get hold of them, a shirt of Jonty Rhodes's goes a long way. And he had a lot of them, so we were grateful. My roommate was flying de Villiers for a couple of years, so between the two of us, we really got up to a lot of things that probably wouldn't happen don't happen today. And there wasn't a social media, and there wasn't, you know, we could go boar hunting in Pakistan and shooting. You know, we could go to we went to Peshawar, where the Khyber Pass is, and you know, we've done crazy things, you know, around the world, and we had fun along the way, you know, great fun, which probably in the spotlight today would be deemed as no, you can't do that. As Dr. Ali Bacher would always phone me, Pat, what has happened now? You can't do that, Pat. Oh no, Ali, it's not me again.
What is the one story that even Ali Bacher wouldn't have known about, that even you had to do your best to keep quiet about?
Well, I'll tell you a story you did know about, because that's quite a good one. We were actually playing cricket. We were playing a test match against India in Calcutta, and we got to the hotel, and it's a beautiful hotel, probably one of my most favorite hotels. And we just got into, you know, you really get swamped by people, and you know, at any stage outside your room, outside the hotel is 5,000 people just waiting to get a glimpse or an autograph. So we booked into the hotel, and we'd gone down, and there was myself, Brian, Mac, Fani was there, and Jonty was there, and we were lying at the pool on the deck chairs, you know, just lying there. But we'd been signing autographs the whole day, and the hotel's a kind of sacred place where, you know, you really don't need people to be coming there while you're just lying, chilling out, snacking on a Coke, you know. Anyway, and the next minute, these two young guys arrive, and they got, one's got sunglasses on, those bright like sunglasses, can't see through them, and they're standing next to us and they're badgering us for autographs, you see. And so Mac and I are having a little chat there. So I said, well, okay, I'll lob one of them in the pool. So I got up, and as the guy turned sideways to get an autograph from Brian, I picked him up under his arms and I threw him into the middle of the pool with his glasses on and his book in his hand. And he landed face down in the pool, and I sat back on my chair, and he didn't come up. And the next minute, Jonty's shouting, somehow he can't swim. He can't swim. And I'm looking, oh, my word. And Joe dived in, and he pulled him out. And he dragged him to the side and spluttering, and we're trying to get the water out of the bloke. And are you okay, buddy? You know, how many autographs did you like? You know, no, sorry, we didn't mean it. We didn't know you couldn't swim. Anyway, and so all ends well. We sign autographs and we say sorry, and off he goes. And the next morning at about 5 o'clock, as is wont with Dr. Bacher, I get a phone call. Pat, Alan here. Morning, Pat. Hi, Doc. What's up? And at that stage, I was the players' representative, so I'd often get a call from him. And he says, Pat, what happened at the swimming pool yesterday? It's like, what do you mean? And he says, it's going to hit the papers this afternoon. You might have noticed that two people were sitting in the corner. And they were two media people. And they're from India, and they phoned me for comment. So that it's hitting the paper tomorrow. And what do you have to say about that? Like, Doc, now you can't go, it wasn't me. No, I know nothing about it. Doc, you know, sorry, man, but, you know, these damn autograph hunters are driving us crazy here, man. You need to get more security. This is nonsense, man. You know, and he jumped all over me. And needless to say, the next day it was in the media. And I was up for jumps there, man. But it was a story that we laugh about today, but it could have had a bad ending.
Oh dear. Was there ever a book? Did you ever write an autobiography?
Dan, I haven't yet. I've been asked a lot of times to do it because I guess I probably should document some important parts, because I was involved in the Nancy Cronje era quite intricately as the first person in the 10 Commission, through to, you know, all the games. The first tour I went on was I was involved in that, and I played under Kepler and I played under Hansi, and you know, so, and I was a selector, and I've been on the cricket committees, and I played a long time. So I probably should document some things, not all of them, but some of them, and I think it could be bit of a, you know, a nice read. I was able to play through an era, and in my era, a lot of the young players came through that became great players. You know, the likes of the Callises and the Bouchers and the Teenies and Pollocks and Kluisners and Jonty and you know, having played with all of them, and I was 32 when I made a debut, so I was really long. I was probably 5, 6, 7 years past my prime as a cricket player, as was Dave Richardson. So we just panned out a living, you know, for 7, 8 years. Whereas, you know, we didn't get the chance at 21, 22. So I probably could impart some great expertise and some fun stuff, you know, over the years. And then having commentated around the world for 10, 12 years, that also gave me a great insight into how the cricketing world works.
Tell us a little bit about the commentary, because I thought you were one of the really fantastic commentators that came out of that period. And one of the reasons is because you tell it like it is, and you've got these great stories and insights, and you've played on all the levels and done all the things. What was that like for you, being part of that?
I loved it. You know, I was very blessed to make very good friends with Tony Gregg, and he was a mentor to me. And it really started, Dan, you may recall, I had a benefit season many years ago, and he was my guest speaker, and he came out to South Africa, and I spent time with him, and he took me under his wing, and wherever he commentated, he would organize that I'd be on the commentary team. So for about 10 years, him and I were kind of always either in Sri Lanka or Pakistan or wherever he could get me on the commentary team. And so I learned a lot from him, and then, you know, just went on and traveled. I commentated for SuperSport for 10 years, English and Afrikaans. And I loved it. But, you know, looking back on it, it didn't end as well as it should have, because I probably was a little bit more outspoken at that point in time. Nick Mallet always tells me I was a bit ahead of my time. You know, a little bit of your time back, you know. So, but having said that, I always knew that at some stage you can't keep doing. I didn't want to keep doing commentary only because I before cricket I worked, and I worked in many aspects of the business world, and I always wanted to go back into it. So I'd always felt at some stage this is going to end, and I was always worried that if you carried on commentating, you'd end up as someone who really had to keep commentating all the time and trying to get jobs around the world. And as you know, I mean, it's a really traveling business. You're always on the go. You're never at home, and people really suffer. Marriages suffer, and relationships suffer. You don't easily make home friends because you're just never around. And while you got the good side and you're earning nice and good dollars, etc., but there comes a time when that can't carry on. And I was always worried about that. And so I was blessed to have it work out for me, Alan. Yeah, but thanks. I'm looking back on the commentary, I was able to commentate in some great places and do some magnificent games. I mean, that 4:38 game, I often get to listen to it. It fleetingly comes on, and I kind of let it knock myself to say, well, that's me commentating there, and commentate on an Australian series. I did 3 World Cups, and so I really enjoyed my time as a commentator. As I did as a player, but I'm equally enjoying life now as a businessman, and able to enjoy the other parts of life that maybe commentators that are always on the go and always traveling and always catching flights can't do.
Alan, what was your favourite Pat Symcox memory?
I was about
as
to
a cricketer as a cricketer or as a commentator.
As both. Oh, let me say, as a cricketer, I'll say it was, because I was about to ask you what you're like as a golfer now. Because on the cricket field, the thing about
Dan will tell you that. Dan knows I'm a pretty good golfer. He'll tell you.
He's very successful based on a rather flexible handicap.
Right.
And interesting approach to awarding himself putts.
Well, look at I guess one of my favorite times is Bouchy and I breaking a world record.
Yeah.
And still holding it today, and I'm quite proud of it. It was a good time. I was 37 at the time, so to get 100 in Test cricket was something I wanted to do. So it was a famous time, a favourite time. But there was another favourite time. It was against the West Indies in India, and a very famous game actually. John Key Rhodes took 5 catches in that game, and that's the world record in one-day cricket.
That's right.
And 3 of those catches off my bowling. But believe it or not,
did John T. Rhodes field a deep backward square leg?
Mid-wicket, actually. No, mid-wicket, Dan, mid-wicket. And of those 3, of the 5 catches, 3 off my bowling. And I remember that day quite well because I bowled 10 overs, 3 for 21 to win the match.
No one cared.
But I didn't get an interview. It didn't really matter. Those got so bad, like somehow, well bowled, buddy. Oh, well, you got 5 catches, boss. So, 3 of them off me. So you have your good times, I remember winning, getting a man of the match in a place called Guwahati in India. Now, I mean, that is like playing in Alice, Beaufort West, the worst place to go and play cricket. Anyway, and I didn't have a particularly good game, and Lance Klusener got 99. It opened the batting in that game for South Africa, got 99. And at the end of the game, they announced the man of the match. The man of the match referee in those days, it was John Reed, who actually was my manager when I was playing for Northerns. And John and I became good friends. And the game before, I had played pretty well. I can't remember what happened, but I should have been man of the match, and he gave us some other muppet. Anyway, and I had a couple of words with him afterwards. I said, you're going to give it to that muppet? I mean, really? Come on, John. Anyway, so Clusey gets 99. I do hardly anything in they announced. And the man of the match is Pat Symcox. Oh, my word. So he was doing his head. And the man of the match was a beautiful watch, a Titan watch. So Clusey, even to this day, calls him the Titan of Guwahati.
Oh, that's brilliant. How was a Pat Symcox in some of the sterner, more kind of stricter, kind of disciplinarian-based dressing rooms? I would imagine, like under Kepler, but maybe I'm wrong. or some of the coaches, would they give you leeway? Did they understand the kind of character that you were and let you play with that, or was it a little bit tough for someone like you?
No, I loved the discipline of Kepler. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and we needed it at that time. We were all a bunch of young guys, and I remember, going on tours. We were green. We didn't really know much, and man, we could get up to mischief, and Kepler wouldn't allow any of that. So he was really good at it. In fact, I remember going on a tour. It was the '98 tour. We went to England, Dan, and in England, South Africa the Proteas use the Man United bus. I don't know if you follow, but Man United bus becomes the Protea bus, and it's got these lovely tables and chairs, and you play cards and you can chat, and as it goes around England, you don't fly around England, you travel to all the games, But it's got two defined areas: the front area and kind of a back area, and the front area was kind of where the older guys sit: Richardson, myself, Brian McMillan, Farney, those kind of guys, and the back was where Paul Adams, Mackay, Sean Pollock, Klusner, Boucher, and it had a team radio system, on board, where you could put CDs in and play music. And we'd get in the bus and we'd have to listen and be subjected to this damn pop, bloody terrible music blaring that Paul Adams is listening to, and we just eventually we were getting to this point where it's like, can't we have a bit of Neil Diamond here, And anyway, so we get to the ground the one day and we had to play, and we right, stuff this, man. Get a pair of pliers from the driver. Mac and I get under the bus. We clip it off. And they get in the bus, they put the sound system on, let's put the music on, boys. It's not working, man. And we're sitting there. So a couple of days, and they keep complaining to the bus driver, the bloody music system's not working. And eventually they get under the bus and they have a look, and there they see the cut wire. So they hooked it up again. Oh, man. So we had this constant older, young guys in the team. And what is a sad thing when you're playing in a team sport is you mustn't play for too long, because what happens is that guys retire as you go along and you start to lose mates. And I see that's what's happened to Faf now. To be honest, Faf's now moved to a point where most of the team don't share the same family values now, battling with, the young guys. And I remember when I was just 40, just going 40 when I was still playing international cricket, and all the young guys were 21. There was Herschel and Paul and all those guys, running and training, and they'd go out on a night. And the defining moment was, you remember my son Russell, Dan? He was on a tour with us, and we were in the room, and the phone rang, and it was Herschel Gibbs, and my son was 16 with us on tour. We were sitting in the room watching TV. Phone rings at about 6:45, and it's Herschel. Hi, Summer. Hi, Hersh, how's it, man? What can I do for you? Hey, he says, listen, what's Russell doing? So I say, yeah. He says, what's he doing tonight? So I don't know. Hold on. So he says, would you like to come out with us? We're going out and we're going to have a couple of beers. And so I put the phone down. I said, Russ, the guys want to know if you want to come out with them. I put the phone down. I'm thinking, when they start asking your son to go out for supper with him, it's maybe time I started leaving this team, And so it was a defining moment for me. I thought, no. When your son's best friends with the players in the team, and they're going out to nightclubs and you're sitting around watching TV, it's not happening. And then I realized, listen, it's time to pull the plug. And at 39, it was going 40. It was the end. So I had a good time.
You have a great affection for the game of cricket, Simo, and I've known that better than most because we've been friends for a long time now, and it's a friendship I cherish. I want to tap into just how much of this cricket knowledge you have, because one of the challenges that we put to our guests each week is the Two Full Tossers Big Cricket Quiz, which we have for you. So if you're ready to flex your mental agility, we've got a 5-part quiz. I can tell you some people have done rather well here. Darren Goff got 4 out of 5, did pretty well. I think JP Duminy got 1 out of 5. So there's been a range of success. but it's 5 questions. You ready to take on the ferocious and fearsome 2 full tossers cricket quiz? He's not. We lost you there for a second. Right, Pat, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right. Question 1. Now, it's not too hard to pick the 1, 2, and 3 for the most successful wicket-taking spinners in history. It's Murali, it's Warne, it's Kumble. Which spinner sits at number 4 on that list?
I would say it's either Sanath Jayasuriya or whoever played a long time. I'd say Daniel Vettori.
You can only pick one of them.
Sanath Jayasuriya.
Sanath Jayasuriya, I'm afraid would be wrong. You've got the country right, you've got the action right, but with 433 test wickets, Regana Herath.
Regana Herath passed him. Correct. You're right.
All right. So there we go. Good
Where
effort.
would Jayasuriya be?
Say again.
I wonder where Sanath would be, because
I shall go and find out for you and return with that answer. Question number 2. I'm going to show you a spin bowler. Who is the spin bowler in this photo, Pat Symcox?
Wow.
I think Alan just got it.
No,
I'll give you a clue. He and his brother both played international cricket together.
Well, it's got to be probably the leg spinner from Zimbabwe.
Does he have a name?
Because I played against him a good couple of times. And in fact, I think he's on my Facebook. Strang.
So you're quite close.
Paul Strang.
Paul Strang is correct. And well done, Nikki Ferreira, wife of Everett Ferreira, getting that one right. Congratulations, Nikki. Good going. All right. So you're 1 out of 2. Question 3. In the modern era, the post-isolation era for South Africa, you scored a test match 100, Pat, and a wonderful 100 it was. It made you the 2nd oldest person to score a debut test 100 for South Africa. Who's the only player older than you to have done that?
I wouldn't know, but he's got to be bloody old. No, I wouldn't know, mate. I wouldn't know.
The answer there would be Peter Kirsten.
Really?
Kersey.
104 at Headingley.
That's the innings.
Ah, very good.
I was there. One of the sad stories of cricket that,
Yeah.
Just an extraordinary talent. All right. 1 out of 3 so far. You've got 2 questions left to redeem yourself, Symcox. Which South African spin bowler has the best figures in an innings in Test cricket for South Africa? I don't need the figures, just the name of the bowler.
Well, in Test cricket, it could be Mike Proctor, but it could also be.
I'm not sure he'd appreciate being called a spinner, Simo.
Well, he did bowl spin against Australia, and I think he did take wickets, but it's probably going to be Hugh Tayfield.
A good go, but it's actually, with 9 for 129, Keshav Maharaj.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Who got his hat trick today. All right, you're 1 out of 4. Your very last question, and this is one you really should get right. Which South African left-arm spinner of the relatively modern era had the wonderful nickname Rooiwyn?
I'm not wasting your time. I know him well. I can't think.
Is he also a friend of yours on Facebook?
No, he's no, it's gone. Getting old.
Left-arm spinner, played out of the Boerland, coached a gentleman by the name Claude Henderson.
Claude Henderson.
Claudie, also, what a talent, eh?
Yeah.
Well, not just a talent, but a depressed talent if he's watching this at the moment and knowing his good friend Pat Symcox couldn't remember who he was. Deep, big hug there, Claude. Big hug. You'll be all right. 1 out of 5, Mr. Symcox. But you got a good one right, so we'll give you an added aura of achievement for that. Before we let you go, because I know it's late on in the evening and you've got
I'm in good company with JP, am I?
a level with JP, and you were both off spinning all-rounders.
Correct.
I tell you what, to change the pace here, we'll do a quick 10 questions, but this is quick. No thinking. You've got to imagine you're Herschel Gibbs. No thinking at all. You just answer as quickly as you can. Are you ready, Mr. Symcox? Here we go.
Yes.
For you, a bat pad or an LBW?
Sorry, I lost you there. There was thinking was put.
A bat pad or an LBW?
For me,
Yeah,
bat pad.
lovely. Fanie de Villiers or Alan Donald?
Alan Donald.
Ooh. Steve Waugh or Ricky Ponting?
Ricky Ponting.
Cigarettes or a beer?
Cigarettes.
110 not out or a sixfer?
110 not out.
That's the right answer, sir. A classic off spin through the gate or a flipper?
Classic off spin through the gate.
Thank you, sir. Maharaj or Mitchell Santner?
Maharaj.
Well done. Kumble or Saklane Mushtaq?
Kumble.
The last two, India or New Zealand?
India.
And finally, and this is the most important one because this is one of my heroes, and I need you to think about this carefully, Lee Barnard or Clive Eckstein?
None of them.
Yes. Okay, there's a bombshell right out of the
Clive
mouth.
Eckstein. Clive Eckstein.
No, don't say it. Did you ever play with Lee Barnard?
He was my captain.
Was he?
Lee Barnard is Alan's favourite cricketer of all time ever.
I don't know why, but he is.
Yeah, well, you know, some people, you have your choices in life. You got to live with them, man.
Exactly, and I do.
I know Barney very well. A wonderful guy. He's a damn fine golfer. He was my captain for a couple of years.
Amazing.
But Steady was a mate of mine. He was a teammate as well for South Africa, And I think he was really hard done by as a spinner. I think he was a magnificent spinner. Probably
He was.
much better than I was ever as a spin bowler. And unfortunately,
That's it. You talk about Clive Eckstein and that'll happen.
yeah. You talk about Lee Barnard, worse things can happen.
Oh dear. I see a couple of questions coming in there. Michelle Cavanos wanting to know, where can I buy that highlight color sunblock? I'm not sure which one of us she's referring to, but we'll find out for you, Michelle, and let you know. And Gary Van Lochenberg saying you should get more Facebook friends, Simo. We'll help you out with that.
Lochenberg, when he's in town.
Exactly. That is exactly what we ask every single week.
Probably
obviously bored.
Very.
Every week. It's, well, one of the great. He's a golf partner of mine, and one of the great Boerland scrum halves of the late 80s.
Oh, wonderful! He obviously drinks a lot of wine, then, Dad.
Oh dear. All right. Simo, thank you so much for joining us. I know you've got a big game of golf coming up with Mark McNulty and Barry Richards. So best of luck for a top 3 finish. And keep entertaining us, because I think if we look back at your career, that really was the golden thread of what you did. You entertained and you had fun doing so, and we were the beneficiaries of that. So a big thank you for that, and a big thank you for making your debut on Two Full Tossers tonight.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks so much. Take care. Look after yourselves, Alan.
Thank you so much. Good man.
There we go. Patrick Symcox, some wonderful stories. And the stories really, Helen, we probably aren't going to hear their type very often as the professional world of sport becomes ever more sanitized.
100%. That is a true proper legend. We've had a couple of these guys over the last 20 weeks, Alan Lamb and the sort. But Pat Symcox, as you say, someone who played the game hard, someone who played it well, but had so much fun off and around the field. And I think that's part of his legacy.
And a fabulous legacy it has been our pleasure to share here on Two Full Tossers. We say goodnight. Alan and I will be leaping, not together, but into our respective bathtubs of champagne and lapping it all up in celebration of South Africa winning a whitewashed series in the West Indies, winning every single test, all of them. And we are very excited as a result. Have a splendid week, Alan. Any more shows have you extended for yet another week?
We're in the middle of the 3rd wave, as you know, so everyone needs to keep safe. We're bunkering down for a while, but soon to come to Joburg, to Monte Cassino. So as soon as I have those dates penciled in, I shall let you know, and I shall come to your little hometown, your little home village, and soon we'll have some fun. So for the moment, just look after yourselves, and we'll see you next week. I think with Kevin Peterson, I'm assuming.
Well, we shall see. He does ask us very nicely on a daily basis. That has been Two Full Tossers with myself, Dan Nicholl, and the ageless and charming Alan Committie. And we shall see you back again for an audience of hundreds or close to it. Same time next week. Goodbye.